if it feels yucky, don't do it. Right. So that was like the litmus
That,
test or whatever you want to call it.
yeah, that advice is brilliant on every level. I feel like
Really? I mean,
you know?
it doesn't have to be with autistic children. It could be
Yeah.
any children.
Yeah.
If you're doing something, that yucky feeling is going against your instinct as a parent
Yes.
or a caregiver or a
Yeah.
teacher,
Yeah.
and it doesn't align, and that's why it feels yucky. So, like for me, the real shift happened when I started listening more to the last several years to autistic voices, autistic
Mm,
adults
mm,
that could explain
mm,
how they feel, what this feels
mhm.
like when this approach is used versus that approach. So I think about that. And so relationships and connection for me always come first now.
Ho, ho, ho!
Hey, Santa, before you get too carried away, we need to talk.
Yeah, because while you're up there with the cookies, moms are the ones making sure the magic actually happens.
And let's be honest, who does all the work and who gets all the credit?
This year, it's time for a little more for mom. We're hosting the More for Mom Summit, a free online event designed to help you ditch the stress and keep the joy of the season.
Think of it as your 4-day reset. Practical tools, heart-centered support, and a community of moms who get it.
Grab your free ticket at moreformomsummit.com because this year, mom gets to enjoy the magic too.
Ho, ho, ho. This episode is brought to you by the More for Moms Summit. You can get your free ticket at www.moreformomsummit.com. We'll see you there. Welcome. Today we are joined by my friend, Tara Phillips. Hi, Tara.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. Tara is the founder of Autism Little Learners. She is a speech and language pathologist with decades of experience supporting autistic children and their families. And what I love about Tara's work is how she helps parents and teachers release perfection and return to connection, even when the world's expectations feel heavy.
Hmm.
That's what you're going to be talking about in the summit, which is so exciting. She's one of our incredible speakers for the More for Moms Summit, which is happening November 12th through 14th. It is a free online event to help moms reclaim joy, calm, and confidence before the holidays hit. Tara's presentation, titled Holiday Pressure Meets Parenting Pressure, Finding Your Smile When Judgments Feel Heavy, is part of what we will be delivering to everyone. Super exciting. So if you're interested in the summit, just go to moreformomsummit.com and grab your ticket. Tara, great to see you.
Yes, you too. We had quite the conversation before we hopped on here.
Yeah,
We had general catching up to do, but now
it's
we're
true.
focused.
It's true. We're reining it in. We're
Yeah.
friends in a way. I feel like that I could just talk to you probably for hours about any topic, and often do. I'll just be like,
Yes.
"Hey, Boxer. Hey, Tara. Random thought from my mind. What do you think about that?"
Yes.
So,
That's
yeah.
exactly it.
I appreciate you. Okay, so let's talk about you. Can you take us back to what life looked like before you started Autism Little Learners? What brought you on that path?
Yeah, like you said, I'm a speech language pathologist or
Mm,
speech therapist. I
mm,
was in the classroom for 25 years. I had no intention of becoming a full-time entrepreneur.
mm,
It kind of one of those things that evolved over about 4 years. I started a little side gig, making resources for other educators and speech therapists working with young autistic kids. Sold
yeah.
those on the side, and then people wanted more. And it wasn't just, I thought I was just going to be selling these to teachers, but there were also parents who wanted more information. And I realized really quickly there just weren't enough practical compassionate resources for educators or parents of young autistic kids.
Mm,
And so I was spending a lot of hours making my own visuals, my own social stories and supports because what existed didn't really feel affirming or developmentally appropriate, especially for like 3 to 5 year olds or even the 6 and 7 year olds.
mm,
So that was kind of where things started. And then it got to the point where things grew and I had to choose, okay, I cannot do both of these things anymore. And I just felt led to support educators and parents on a a larger scale than the four walls of my classroom. So I feel really fortunate to accidentally be an entrepreneur.
And I love, so I know about your business story a little bit. And what I love about your story is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it started as simple as like, I'm just going to do this little side thing. And, maybe I'll make a little money to cover the cost of my groceries and continue to be a teacher, and cut to now you're serving so many families. And it's so incredible to see and teachers because your reach for the number of kids you can positively impact has just expanded so far. And it gives me goosebumps. It makes me so happy to see that happening in the world. So, yay.
Yeah, and it's something I never even thought of in the beginning. It was just focused on here's resources that can make other teachers' lives a little easier,
Easier. Yeah.
and then it turned into the impact. And so now having a parent who has found something free of mine online or a training on YouTube, say, email from Pakistan and say, I
Yes.
tried this and it worked.
Yes.
I mean, those are the kind of things where I think it takes a village and like a global village when you have something like autism, where, as we'll talk about, people feel judged. And I
Mm,
think any parent can relate to feeling judged, whether
mm,
their child is neurodivergent or not. But that judgment we also put on ourselves. And so
yeah.
I think years of experience in supporting families, but also raising my own children who are adults now, there's so
Mm,
many things you always look back and wish that you could do better because with what you know now. And I
mm.
think that pressure we put on ourselves in every aspect of parenting is one of the biggest things.
It's so intense. Honestly, it's one of the primary things that Kara and I talk about so consistently on Your Mom Enough because both of us came to parenthood in our 40s. And so
Mm.
we kind of lived the life of Riley, for a lack of a better way to say it, just thinking like, oh, everything's great. And then you become a parent, and this wall of judgment just kind of hits you, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
so unexpected. Crazy. All
From
right.
strangers,
So,
from people close, everybody.
and like I remember in my personal case, it was like day 3. I took my daughter back to the hospital because she was born just before Thanksgiving weekend, so we couldn't get her to the pediatrician for the weigh-in. And a lady in the waiting room had like some judgments to share. Like day 3, I was like, "Whoa!" Like I barely remember I have a baby right now, and this is
Yeah.
already a thing. Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, um is there anything in specific that's like inspired you when you were just getting started to support parents or children with autism or neurodivergence?
Yeah, I think that when I started, I mean, I was in my 20s and
Mhm.
I'm all of a sudden in charge of this classroom with, I had 4 autistic students.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I'm going to go and teach them. And I don't know quite how yet because I only had one class specifically about autism in college, but
Mm,
we're going to do this. And I quickly learned that the number one way to connect with these students of mine was to connect with their parents because their
mm,
parents knew them inside and out. So
yes.
I met all these incredible parents who loved their child deeply, but they felt overwhelmed and judged
Mm,
by, systems, the school system, family members, even
mm,
professionals.
mm,
And I think early on, it just made me feel like I want to create like a safe space where they could feel seen and supported.
yeah.
And I hope that I made, the majority of families feel that way. And I feel like that's where my focus shifted a little bit, just from like, I'm going in to help kids during
Mm,
school to
mm,
also trying to equip and uplift and listen to the adults that care for them. Because any of us as parents, we do know our child best,
yes.
no matter
And
what.
I think that's so powerful because if your goal is to help children, right? Especially in instances where there's something that is different, supporting their parent is one of the key things you can do, you know?
Mhm. And
Incredible.
I think over time, as I've gotten older, that's become more clear and more important to me.
Mm,
When you're young, you just don't know. So we were like kind of growing alongside each other, these parents, these you know, first 4, 6 families. A
Families.
lot of
Yeah.
them I'm still in touch with because
Yeah.
we kinda grew together, and their children taught both of us, taught them
Yeah.
how to parent, taught me how to teach, and then
Yeah.
kinda taught us how to lean on each other.
Ah, that's amazing.
Get your bingo card from the Summit Village, and this time cross off the word red bow. Not sure what this means and you're curious? Why don't you check us out? moreformomsummit.com and join in on the fun. See you there.
Okay. You have such a compassionate approach. Where do you feel like that came from?
Aw. Well, I have to say my business did start through the death of my dad in
Mm,
2019,
mm,
and he died from leukemia, and that's I was, so devastated and
mm,
grief-stricken and crying every day that I was like, "I have to this is the time to take this thing that I knew I wanted to do, create resources,
mm,
and try to distract me a little bit from that." Just
mm.
I could put into something else that's maybe gonna help someone else in this world, it would maybe take the sting away a little bit, and so
Yeah.
I feel like this was a huge piece of that compassion. My dad, throughout his life, would do these things, like, a lot of them we didn't know until later. He
Mm,
would, we'd find out later, like, "Oh, yeah, he was at Walmart and he saw this group shopping together at Christmas time, and he asked, 'What are you guys doing?' And they're like, 'We're sponsoring a family, so we're getting the stuff on the list.'" And dad would hand him like $200 and be like, "Oh, get them more." Just stuff
yeah.
like that where, he didn't post about it on Facebook or tell anybody. Um, so I think I loved I grew up with a compassionate
Family.
family. Yeah.
And compassionate example, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny now, my stepson who's 17, his girlfriend, um, for the last couple of years when we first got to know her, the girlfriend's mom and dad were like, "Oh, that's your dad? I worked at the business that he worked at, and
Mm.
he found out once that we were struggling to buy formula for our
Ah,
daughters because it was, like we had a car breakdown and it was that we weren't to payday yet. And your
yeah.
dad bought formula for us for the girl that ended up being my stepson's girlfriend the last 2 years.
Ah,
Isn't that just crazy? So I think dad was a good example, and my mom always is always sweet to everybody. But within autism and within teaching,
mm,
there are often different methods that kind of come and go that people you feel pressured to use. So more
mm,
compliance-based approaches, specifically with autism,
mm,
but they never sat right with me. And
mm.
so, like, you'd make yourself okay. I guess if we're trying to get him to give me the picture of cracker to communicate because he's not speaking, and they're telling us, nope, you take his hand and you like make him give it to you, even though that feels yucky. That was like the gold standard at the time. And so
Yeah.
I think all of us in this field firmly believe like when you know better, you do better. But
Mm,
it's this piece that the co-teacher that I worked with at early childhood the last 10 years of my career, she and I would always look at each other and say, like, if it feels yucky, don't do it. Right. So that was like the litmus
that
test or whatever you want to call it.
yeah, that advice is brilliant on every level. I feel like I feel
Really? I mean,
you know?
it doesn't have to be with autistic children. It could
Yeah.
be any children.
Yeah.
If you're doing something, that yucky feeling is going against your instinct as a parent
Yes.
or a caregiver or a
Yeah.
teacher,
Yeah.
and it doesn't align, and that's why it feels yucky. So, like, for me, the real shift happened when I started listening more to the last several years to autistic voices, autistic
Mm,
adults
mm,
that could explain
mm,
how they feel, what this feels
mhm.
like when this approach is used versus that approach. So, I think about that. And so relationships and connection for me always come first now.
That's so powerful. I'm like so not surprised because I know you, but I think it's so lovely that your dad was such a great example is so obvious because you took this moment of grief and instead of saying, okay, I'm sure you had moments, right?
Every
I'm gonna be couch bound and just
Mhm.
pajamas for life. You got yourself to a point where you're like, no, I have to focus my attention on somewhere else. Let me see what I can do that's positive for other people. I think that is also like just a rule for life. Like your life just gets better when you approach things that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm proud of you and I'm proud of him, you
Thank
know?
you. Good.
Fabulous. You're welcome. Okay. Um Was there a specific moment or experience that made you realize that parents needed the kind of emotional support or like safe space that you were creating in your classrooms?
Yeah. I remember for me, one day, I had a student, and it was my first year teaching or no, second year teaching, and
Mm,
he was a kindergartner, and he was banging his head over and over and over, and,
mm,
like, all I could do was sit there and just try to kind of give him that pressure and input until
mhm,
he calmed down. And I remember, like, literally tears running down. I'm alone with him, and I just kept whispering, like, "How can I help you? How can I help
mhm.
you?" And it made me think of parents and how we all feel that same way. There is no
Yes.
manual when it comes to any kind of parenting.
Yes.
And you add autism in there, and it makes it extra challenging at
Mm,
times. And
mm,
so I also remember, like, sitting with a mom after a hard day for her child, because sometimes days are hard and like that child, and you have to kinda let them in the loop of, how the day was.
yeah.
And she was like, "I just feel like I'm failing him." And it broke my heart because she wasn't failing. She
No.
was doing everything right in a
Yeah.
system, our world, that's not built for
Yeah. Mm,
autistic kids. And
yeah.
so she made me realize, like, parents don't just need us to tell them strategies. Like, I learned this at this conference and, do a visual schedule and blah, blah, blah. Like, at first, along the way, we need to develop a relationship and trust. And someone needs to remind them that their child is not broken and their
Yes.
parenting isn't broken.
Yes.
And the biggest thing they can listen to is their gut.
Yeah. That's so powerful. I think the parents of the children that you were a teacher to were so blessed. And I just say that like from my own personal experience I've shared with you before, not the same. So not like an apples to apples. But I grew up with dyslexia, still have it. Check my spelling. And and it was really challenging for my parents. Like I remember teachers saying things to my mom like, I'm wondering if she's getting enough sleep. Are you giving her apple juice
Yeah.
at night? Like different kind of questions about what was going on in our home. And my mom was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
no, you know,
And
I struggled to concentrate, but hey,
yeah, many things are rooted in blaming women.
girl.
And specifically with autism, I don't know if you know of this, but back in
Mm,
the 1950s and early 60s, there was a doctor named Dr. Bruno Bettelheim, and
mm,
he came up with this theory that became very wide known to, like,
mm,
doctors, pediatricians, everyone.
mm.
His theory was that the moms of autistic kids were cold and uncaring and thus caused autism, and he called
Wow.
them refrigerator mothers. And if you Google it, and they would literally tell them, "You're a refrigerator mother." I've seen
Oh my
documents,
goodness.
and it shakes you to your core, like some psychobabble can be. So there are still people in our society who lived in that era parenting,
Hmm.
who were told this about themselves and that they needed therapy, not the child, because they weren't relating to their child. Now, I've never seen any parent relate to a child as strongly as I've seen moms relate to their non-speaking autistic children. Like
100%.
that bond that they know what a movement, what one little sound, if their child goes, they know what that means. Or if
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
in a different way, they're like, we got to wrap it up here because we're
Yeah. We've got 5 minutes and yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, that I don't even know how we got on that topic, but the blaming moms
Yeah.
because, like, you drank too much apple juice, and that must be why you had trouble
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah. Well, and like I just find it so I still, like, I will share, I'm 42 now. I still actively attend therapy. And part of that process is EMDR. And that
Mhm.
process supports you in unlearning subconscious things. And I still have subconscious damage from my experience with teachers
Yeah.
in school, you know?
Yeah.
And so I am grateful for you always because you're a lovely friend to have, but also in knowing that parents needed that space and that children needed that support, because I do think a child's whole trajectory can be
Mhm.
given a direction just on some simple words, whether
Yeah.
it be positive or negative, you know? And so, anyways,
And the
crazy.
damage that can be done. So that's why so many of us that are call ourselves neurodiversity affirming,
Mm,
we commit to listening to autistic adult voices because they can tell their shared lived experience. They can share
mhm,
that.
mhm.
And yes, we hear from a lot of adults that are speaking. But there are now, because of AAC devices, adults that are
Yeah.
non-speaking that can also share. So I have a podcast interview coming up with Jordan Zimmerman.
Mm,
Anyone listening, like, it doesn't matter if you know anyone who's autistic or not, listen to her, Google her
yes.
on or in YouTube. But
Yeah.
she is a non-speaking autistic adult who went through school with nobody presuming competence. And so they would talk about her,
Oh.
say she can't do this, she can't do that. She was doing the same stupid, simple, like 1 plus 1 through high school. She
Mm,
was fighting, running out of the classroom, running out of the building, behaviors,
mhm,
it's all documented in all of her paperwork. And she got an AAC device when she turned 18,
mhm.
and she is an eloquent speaker. And she
Yeah.
talks about the
Yeah.
trauma from that. And so all of this comes down to uh, say that as adults, as caregivers, it doesn't, I'm telling my story as a teacher of autistic children, but I'm also a parent. And if 52-year-old me could go back and tell younger me, trust your instincts. That's
Yes.
the biggest thing, is to trust, know your child best. Even if you feel like you don't even know what you're doing, you still know them best.
Yes. It's so fun. Like, I would love to have the link for that episode if you're comfortable with it so that we
Yeah.
can share it as well, because I've seen little clips of her and um she is incredibly eloquent.
Hmm.
And I just think that so many people that I know, family members, friends of friends who are in the autistic community are brilliant. Like, and if you are not knowing someone, you are missing out on some incredible
Oh, yeah.
people, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyways, good
Ugh,
for that. That's amazing. I'm so like, I'm excited for you to get to interview her.
I know. I can't wait. I can't
Oh,
wait.
that's amazing. Okay. So, for a mom listening right now who feels judged or overwhelmed, what's one small mindset shift that she could try this week? That's a big question,
Yeah.
but is there something that she could do?
And this can be for any mom. I know with autism, I can't remember offhand the latest, it was like 1 in 36. So
Mhm,
you your listeners are likely either going to know a family who has an autistic child or have one themselves. So
mhm,
no matter what, think like, okay, my child and I are not behind or doing something wrong or not good enough,
mhm,
or my parenting, we're right where we're meant to be right now.
mhm.
So just think, okay, if I feel like I'm not adding up to, the other parents and all the things they have their kids in, or I don't have my, what together,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and if this is me telling my past self, like,
Mhm.
we're right where we're meant to be, and just like stop in the slow moments and just think about like relationship and connection, because that's in the future all that's going to matter. Kids aren't going to
100%.
remember half of the stuff that you're trying to do, but they remember, like I remember my dad laying on the ground doing airplane rides where he'd put us on his feet, and that's what I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100% true. And I think that One of the damaging things about the social media world is it gives this impression,
Yes.
regardless of your motherhood journey, of this like well coiffed,
Yes.
perfect experience where there's like no stains and there's never a diaper blowout and
Yeah.
there's no
Or a super
tantrums,
messy house.
right? And it's intimidating because you feel like I have to be doing something wrong. And so I love that. Like we're exactly where we need to be. This is exactly the moment. I was saying to my mom this morning, not the same, but I was saying to her, everything that I've ever like super worried about, like, oh my God, will Carissa ever roll over?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like trying to teach this little thing to roll over. Everything that I've ever tried to worry about, if I just give her space and time on her own, she just
Yeah.
does what she needs to do and it's fine. It's way more stressful when I'm trying to measure against an
Yeah.
external yardstick.
Totally. And it kind of goes along the lines with like, you don't have to fix everything. Just focus on your connection today, and that's where growth begins. And if
100%.
she didn't ever turn over and you needed to go, seek out physical therapy, that's okay.
Figure it out.
Not due to you. It's not due to
Yeah,
parenting. Like it's just part of the journey. And then when you get there, that's where you're meant to be. And then when
exactly.
you move on from there, that's where you're meant to be. So like that's the anchor. Where you are
Yeah.
right now is where you're meant to be. And then growth begins from there.
And I'll just add to that. The other thing that I have learned is that she has intrinsic value just as she is.
Yes.
She doesn't have to like be anything to
Yeah.
have value. And so like this push to perform or this like concern for measure against other people is just a waste
Yeah.
of everything. So yeah,
Absolutely.
amazing. Do you have a simple practice you recommend for staying grounded when family opinions or outside expectations start to pile up?
Yeah. I think that one goes back to knowing your child best. And again, doesn't matter if you're parenting neurotypical children or neurodivergent children, especially before you're going into a stressful situation, which might be holidays, right? Or
Girl.
a parent teacher conference or, anything that gets you worried, like take that
Mm,
moment to pause and breathe, of course.
mm,
Put your hand on your heart, do those kind of things like, I know my child best.
mhm.
I know my child best. And so that might help you stay grounded when opinions start flying or you can
Yes,
see a judgment or someone says like, "Oh, you don't have socks on her? It's cold out." Like, you know your child best. It's all
yes,
good. And also you can have an exit plan. Like step
yes,
outside or take your sensory break with your child and step away for a minute.
yes. And "We're not coming" is an absolutely
Yes.
understandable answer. I just have given up on hurting people's like, keeping people's feelings
Yeah.
over my own or my family's. Like, "Thank you for your invitation, we're not coming."
Yeah,
Beautiful tool.
no is an answer, or what do they say? No is a complete sentence. No
Yes,
thanks. I also think some of this comes with age. I
I
don't know if
agree.
you know, like, the whole TikTok account with the We Do Not Care Club.
Love, love them.
Melanie at the We Do Not Care Club, I wish I had that in my 30s and 40s because now I'll just say, like, "Oh, I don't know what my husband was telling me," but I'm like, "I'm part of the
We
WDNC." And he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "The We Do Not Care Club." So, I'm not gonna let it bother me. And it
Yeah,
wasn't like something he was saying to me, it was like he was telling me about probably
something.
someone that said
Yeah,
something, and I'm like
yeah.
and I feel like I can sit in that and I'm learning really quickly, and it must be like a over 50 thing.
I'm starting to learn the We Do Not Care Club. I feel like some things that have helped me is that like the person at the gym, for example, who's really fit is not judging the person who's just getting started.
No.
Like success doesn't judge trying. And
Right.
so if you're getting this kind of rotten feedback, it is that old consider the source. It's a hard thing to
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
getting your like full-fledged We Do Not Care Club card is hard because, you know, yeah, it takes some practice, but I think that it's true. And if you have an opportunity to be in community with people that see the world a little bit the same way that you do, whether it be in your neighborhood or online. I've always had real great success online. That's how Tara and I know each other. Um, and like look for the friendships that will uplift instead of tear
Yeah.
down,
And
you
they'll
know?
evolve over time because we're all growing and it's
Mm,
okay.
yeah, 100%. Okay. If moms walk away remembering one thing from your story, what do you hope that it is?
Oh, I just think kids, and this goes back to me, raising kids and having former students that are adults now. The only thing that matters are the relationships
Mm,
and the connection. And, being a compassionate, connected parent is
mm,
more powerful than any of the things you could have them in or any of the things you think you should be doing because you see other people doing it.
yes.
And I see that because I have like a 32-year-old autistic student who still comes trick or treating at my house, and he
Love.
lists off things that he remembers from elementary. Do you remember when? And I'm like, oh gosh, what's he gonna pull out of his hat there?
Yeah.
But it's always like these moments.
Mm,
Those are the important things, like the shared moments.
yeah. I think that that's really powerful. Okay. That's all I'll say about it. I just think it's really powerful. And finally, where can moms connect with you and find more about what you're doing?
Yeah, if you know a family or you are a family who has an awesome autistic child or
Mm.
family member, you can find me at autismlittlelearners.com, and I have free resources. And if you know the lingo, something called social stories and trainings and all kinds of things you can do. And I have the Autism Little Learners podcast, and same thing like on Instagram and Facebook, Autism Little Learners. It's the same across all.
Everywhere. We will link it and link it and link it. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Tara, thank you so much for coming to be part of this podcast episode. We are so excited to have you for the More for Mom Summit. If you are listening and you are interested in the More for Mom Summit, we are doing something nice for moms before the holiday crazy gets really underway so that we can fill our own cup before we serve our families. And so if you're listening, Tara's full presentation, Holiday Pressure Meets Parenting Pressure, Finding Your Smile When Judgment Feels Heavy, will be part of the summit. And I'm really excited about it. November 12th and 14th. For your free ticket, go to moreformomsummit.com. Tara, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Shawna.
Ah, I love you so much, and we'll see you soon.
The holiday's magical. The food, the friends,
Yeah, hey Dave, before you start selling us on the joy of the season, me and the moms, we're taking a break.
Because let's be honest, if you're dreading instead of dreaming about the holidays, you're not alone.
And this year, it's time to do something more for mom before things get into the full swing.
The More for Mom Summit is your reset to swap stress for sanity and pressure for peace.
Join us free at moreformomsummit.com and make this a season you actually enjoy.